with Purple Collar Life. In today's video, just a quick first impressions video. First time using the new F350 Godzilla 7.3 towing. First time using the Andersen Hitch's Ultimate fifth wheel hitch connection with the raised setup for our high bedsides. Let's give it a try. We haven't moved this camper since connecting it. You probably saw that video last week. So we're gonna see today how it tows on that Andersen ball hitch.
Are you a little bit nervous about the new hitch system?
Yes. Not because I think there's any flaws with it, just because we've never towed with this type of a hitch system before. I've actually noticed, we went yesterday for some ice cream, and we noticed a couple different trailers just on that drive that had, I've noticed now more and more things. I've noticed several fifth wheel campers that have the Andersen ball hitch attached to the camper. That means to me that a lot of people must use this system that I never realized used it for fifth wheels. Is on different grades, so the truck's pretty level. The camper's a little bit down a slope. I wanted to see how close the camper gets to the bed rail of the truck. Now the camper's not on much of a slope, and I did see a little bit movement, but we still have 6 or 7 inches back there. So I'm gonna actually pull ahead and see if I can get the camper a little bit more down in there to see how close the camper gets to the bed rail.
How close you can get the camper hitting the truck.
So I will tell you that on the old Husky hitch that we had, the conventional fifth wheel hitch, there were lots of times coming around this turn that the truck bed would make contact with the top of the fifth wheel.
And there's a few of our favorite camping spots where the camper is almost like off the paved path,
Right.
kind of down towards a ditch, and the truck's still up on the road. So.
Right. Yep.
Okay, probably good to figure it out now.
Yep.
So what part of the truck are you worried that will eventually hit?
So I'm continuously watching this bed rail and the upper section of the fifth wheel here to see at what angles that articulates enough to make contact. I actually think this hitch sits high enough in the truck compared to our old hitch that we have a little bit more articulation than with the old hitch and the old truck. The other thing I'm worried about is the sharper turn I make, the more of this is going to come towards the bed rail. And I can see this is from a previous time.
Oh yeah.
That it has made contact on sharp turns.
With the old trucking system.
Right. But one of the advantages of a long bed truck is that you should be able to turn just about 90 degrees because you've got so much more bed length, and this front of the camper wouldn't make contact. You know, you could be pretty much 90 degrees from the truck, but obviously we won't be able to do that because of this decorative shroud. Will always make contact here before we get even close to 90 degrees. So that's the next thing I want to see. I don't know what angle we're at right now, but it's not super steep. So I'm gonna probably back as if I'm backing into that turnaround, and then I'll see how steep I can get before this makes contact.
How about before it makes contact?
Yeah. That'll be your job, is to yell before it makes contact.
Okay, good.
So, but as far as the articulation goes, I do think the articulation is more apparent on a ball than on a conventional hitch. I think it can articulate a little bit further, but I think we're at a height selection that keeps us a little further away. The other thing that I'm paying attention to is because I've set my Andersen coupler further back on the kingpin, that puts everything closer. Remember how I said about the tailgate? If for some reason we were in a funky spot and had to get connected, it would be near impossible because I couldn't put the tailgate down. Jennifer would have to hold the tailgate part way down because it would currently make contact with the camper. So unless we're perfectly straight, parallel, tailgate to camper, there would be no way at any angle that the tailgate wouldn't be able to hit the camper. So it's stressing me, but I can tell you this is way steeper of an angle than we ever would have done.
I
with
was
the
gonna
old truck.
say, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
And why can you do more of an angle now?
Long bed keeps the camper further away from the cab. With the old short bed truck, by now, this section somewhere along here would have already hit the cab at this angle, because the hitch was closer to the cab to start with.
And
So we haven't made any contact there.
Yeah.
We're still in good shape there, and we're at a really steep angle.
what, you probably have like 4 inches clearance still there?
Yeah. I'm actually tempted to say we could make it 90 degrees. I think we're close to 90 right now, and I could easily back up and we wouldn't make contact here with the cab, and I don't think we'd make contact there with the hitch. So that's really impressive. I don't know that I'd ever want to back into a site that steep in the first place, but it's nice to know that we could.
No, but I'm even thinking of when we bring the camper home and you're trying to get the camper turned around back in the spot.
Mm-hmm.
You've never had our setup at an angle like this.
Right. Yep.
You'd have to go up into the yard or...
Mm-hmm. And if you've watched a previous video of me installing the Andersen hitch, which I think is a great informative video, I actually have the ball on its lowest position because I was worried about the angle of the trailer downhill. But the ball actually could go 1 or 2 position higher, which would give us even more clearance between the bed rail and the top of the camper.
That always worries me though, when we're driving down the road and we see people and their
Yeah.
fifth wheel is
Like at a steep
at
angle.
a really steep angle.
Just initial impressions, the Andersen hitch is super quiet. Like if you remember with the Husky hitch, every time that kingpin moved, it's clunky.
It was clunky and creaky, yeah.
Yeah, and they call that chucking. They call that chucking when the kingpin moves inside the clamps that hold it in place. And when those claws, there has to be a little bit of gap in there so that everything can rotate. With this, it's a ball on top of a socket, so there's none of that clunking that you're used to feeling in the truck when you accelerate or brake or go around the turn. So that's pretty nice so far. Wanted to take a minute here and give you another look at that Andersen hitch. You can see it's just on the goose ball of the truck, which is awesome. We really wanted the puck system in the truck, so we do have the fifth wheel puck connection, but we're just using the goose ball. And you can see I've got the safety chains connected. They connect to that plate down at the bottom. I have not yet found a good place to mount this. So, Andersen hitches would say, find somewhere to mount this before you start towing, because if it caught on something, there's a chance it could twist, pull out, and probably release the coupler off the ball. But for now, I've just left it in here.
What is it?
This is what releases the lever that holds the whole camper onto the ball. So some people mount it back here, but before I mounted it, I wanted to make sure it wasn't somewhere that was going to hit on the camper.
Oh, okay. Boy, so much cleaner back here with that puck system. The rail, not having the rails.
Yeah, all the time not having the rails.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is, lightweight, 35, 40 pounds. I can just lift this out on my own.
Oh, you're not going to make me come out now and help you.
Or use the tractor or anything else. Yeah, so I'm really impressed with it so far. We're going to go for a little drive on the road and see how it feels traveling on the road.
Is this what they call a backseat driver?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what am I looking for back here while you're driving?
Just keep your eye on how it rotates on the ball when we go around turns.
Now, is there some type of signal if the camper falls off the truck?
No. So the truck's a little bit more of an angle than the camper as we go around this turn, and that's one of the things I wanted to see. But again, it's about the same as the other hitch was. Did the same type of thing.
Kind of nerve-wracking towing with a new truck for the first time and a new hitch.
Yeah.
Kind of like being a first-timer. How's it feel?
Feels pretty good so far. I definitely like how quiet, without the chucking and the clunking feeling. Like, I remember pulling out of the driveway with a conventional hitch. You know, you go over a little bit of bump there and you kind of feel that the camper makes the truck react to it. And when you go over a bump, you'd feel it like jerking you back and forth. This was much more smooth. As far as how the truck feels towing, I won't get a better gauge for that until we tow more up and down hills. The braking system feels good. I like the brake controller in a very familiar spot down here. The gain adjustment's also down here. It shows me on the display what my gain is and how much I'm squeezing those trailer brakes. One of the things I forgot to point out was that the trailer connection in the bed is super nice. I don't have to drape my electrical cord down over, so that was nice.
What's that?
So here the truck has shifted down because I'm in tow haul mode. Told I was going downhill and I touched the brakes. So now it's allowing the engine to slow our speed going downhill. Our diesel truck did that too, but you know, the diesel was so loud all the time that you didn't notice it as much as the gas engine's usually really quiet, but you definitely hear it when it gears down for the hill to go downhill. Now it's shifted out of that. It actually put us in like second or third gear going down that hill. We're back in fifth, sixth, so we'll see. We're gonna climb a pretty good incline here. We'll see how it does. I do like the rumble of that Godzilla 7.3. I can hear it. I don't know if it's bouncing off the back of the camper or what, but it sounds good.
It's the sound of it slurping gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah, so the our average was currently 14.9 before we started towing, and we are not even at like 1 climbing up this hill. So. So we're midway on our inaugural tow here with the new hitch, the new truck. And, you know, again, I said earlier in the video, I'll need a lot more seat time towing to give a good kind of first impression. But so far, I'm really happy with it. I definitely can tell it's not a diesel. So for 17 years, we've been towing with a diesel. You kind of get used to that low end torque. You get used to that engine braking. With the gas engine, you still have the engine braking, but it's a lot louder. It gears down a little further because there's not the same compression as in a diesel engine. The other thing I've noticed is we're definitely not going to get great gas mileage. We live in the hills of Northwest Pennsylvania, so there really aren't flat lands. Like once we get to Ohio, if we're traveling across the country, that's nice and flat. We'll probably do really good. But in the hills of Pennsylvania with pretty steep grades, that's really going to eat up our gas mileage. For the feel of the hitch, it's super smooth. I don't feel any of that chunking or you know, clunking every time you'd slow down or stop at an intersection. So that's really good. So kind of my first impression so far. What do you think, Jennifer?
I think it's nerve-wracking for the first time. Just like when we first switched from a tow behind camper to the fifth wheel camper, it was kind of nerve-wracking.
Yep.
I don't feel like it's as nerve-wracking going from one type of fifth wheel hitch to another type of fifth wheel hitch, but I think
Right.
maybe because we have a new truck and a new hitch and just kind of learning it all. But
Yeah. So far, I'm very happy with the truck and the Andersen Ultimate fifth wheel hitch. We'll keep you posted in future videos on what we think. We're going to go ahead and go back towards home now, so we'll have some more mileage here to get a feel for things, but so far, really impressed. Maybe with a little bit of a load on the truck, it would, you know, smooth out any of those bumps. You know, we have probably, I don't know, 1,000 to 1,200, 1,500 pounds maybe in the bed of the truck because of the tongue weight of the camper. But I still feel some bumps, so maybe it won't be as smooth as I had hoped. It's definitely not any bumpier than the old truck with a big load in it, but I really thought, you know, with the long bed, put some weight in the bed, it might smooth out those bumps. It also could be too because my tire pressure is at 80 pounds in the back and 65 in the front. Now that is what you should have it at to tow a heavy load, but like, you know, those little bumps in the road, we don't have great roads here in Northwest Pennsylvania. So you go over potholes and tar strips and bumps between concrete sections, and you do feel those bumps. I guess it's not gonna ride like, you know, a luxury sedan. It rides like a truck. I'll have to get used to that shifting when braking. In the diesel truck, you know, if you were on a pretty good steep grade and you hit the brake pedal pretty good or squeeze the brake controller, it would shift down. This, and maybe it's because it's a 10-speed, it's more sensitive to brake touches. Even when we're not going down a steep grade, if we're just going down a slight grade where I'd like it to stay in the gear it's in and I just want to slow down a little bit, it seems like as soon as I touch the brake, it's gearing down to help me slow down. So I'll have to get used to that. Sometimes I don't really need help slowing down. I just wanted to touch the brakes and, you know, slow down a little bit.
So what do you think the purpose is that it helps you more frequently than you want help?
I think
is it a safety thing or is it a gas mileage thing?
It's definitely to save on your brakes.
Okay.
So to save on the truck brakes, to save on the camper brakes. Like going down this hill, pretty much as soon as I touch the brake here, it geared down to 6th, 4th, and if I keep my foot on the brakes, it just keeps gearing down. Now it's in 3rd, and you can hear that just, you know, really makes the engine rev to hold the weight back going downhill. But now I'd like to get some run for going back up the hill, so I want it to shift up, and you've got to push the gas a little ways here before it shifts up. So those will be things we'll have to get used to. For 17 years, we were used to exactly how the torque shift 5-speed transmission in our 6.0 diesel worked. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get used to the 10-speed transmission in the new 7.3 Godzilla.
I'm excited for our long tow here coming up to see how the new system and the new truck works out.
Yeah, me too. Jennifer has said that for all trips, she will pay for the gas since we switched to a gas engine.
That is not true.
So here you can see we are not on flat level ground here. We are in the hills. So we just came up a grade, now we're going back down a grade, and then we'll be going back up a grade. So if instead of touching the brakes, if I just use the brake controller, it is telling me that the trailer is slowing down, and it didn't gear down. So maybe that's going to be the trick to slowing down without gearing down. It does have us in 6th though, so it geared down some. There's 4th. This 10-speed transmission definitely is always trying to help you out, both uphill and downhill when towing. And I would say, you know, if you're towing a big load like this, 12,000 pounds, and you didn't have it in tow haul mode and you were just relying on your brakes to slow you down, those brakes would really heat up on these hills. You also can manually control those gears. So as we're going up this hill, if I hit the gear down, it's going to take 10th gear away, take 9th gear away, and we could make it just an 8-speed transmission if we didn't want it to go all the way to 10th. So that's nice here on the little control. Add 9th and 10th back in. But that would limit some of your shifting, you know, if you're on areas like this where it's a lot of up and down. I'll say it tows really nice. Like it just climbed right up over that hill. We could have easily kept going 55 if there weren't twists and turns. Plenty of power.
And you were pretty nervous about that, giving up the diesel after 17 years of, you were afraid that you would just...
I thought we'd be the people with their 4-ways on, going 20 miles an hour up a hill. I can already tell with the grades that we've gone up, that will not be the case. We could maintain with our camper whatever speeds we need to. as long as we're willing to keep pouring gasoline down the throat of this engine.
You're good. Keep coming. That's good. There's Miss Olive.
So we're back after our initial tow with the Andersen Ultimate fifth wheel hitch and the Ford Super Duty F350. Really happy with the performance. Just a short tow, so we'll have future videos on long distance tows and how things shake out. But I am really glad we chose the F350. The F250 would have had enough capacity. Obviously would have still been able to get the 7.3 Godzilla, but I like the extra set of springs back there in the back for all that tongue weight of the camper to be sitting on the back of the truck. Now we don't have the other stuff in the back of the truck like the generator, any firewood we might take, kindling, any other tools or supplies we take with us. So we will have more of a load than this, but I'm happy with how it's sitting right here. If this video entertained or informed you in any way, we'd appreciate it if you'd give us a thumbs up. Helps out the channel, helps out the content, and it lets us know you like videos like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again the next time. So my system is I like to extend the legs just about halfway down before I let out the bottom section. That usually leaves me enough height lift for off of the truck. Now I think I might adjust that system for the new hitch because I've got to lift it higher to get it up off the truck. So I think I'll go just over a third of the way before I let the rest of the legs out, because we're going to need some height. So probably right there. Now let's see how close we are to the tailgate here. I think I'm pretty straight, pretty parallel, but yeah, just a little bit of space here. Not.
There wasn't a ton though in the other truck either.
No, but I am glad I chose the position I chose because it gave us more distance between here and the back of the tailgate.
And what do you mean about the position?
So in a previous video, I mentioned how this Andersen coupler could be facing backwards or forward. So the ball could be clear up here. The whole camper would sit 8 inches further back from what it is now. But that also means it'd be 8 inches closer to the tailgate whenever you're turning.
Oh, you don't have 8 more inches with the tailgate down.
Well, yeah, so if I were 8 inches forward, I'd have 8 more inches back there. I'd have more space back there, but the trailer would be closer to hitting the tailgate when the tailgate's up when I'm turning.
I see.
It would also be closer to this side when you're making the steep turns.
Yeah, so it's probably way safer to make the decision with, because you only have the tailgate down when you're on.
When I'm coupling and uncoupling.
Yeah. So it means when you're taking the camper on and off the hitch. To use professional terminology.
So we need to put the chocks underneath the tires so that we don't get any rollback.
Okay.
That thing out.
I always find this part nerve-wracking.
Here's the cord I was talking about. I like that I can connect it right here in the bed of the truck. Previously, you know, it would have to drape over the back of the tailgate down to the connection point down below the bumper. This is a much better system to keep it protected and keep it from scratching up your tailgate.
I was always afraid that it was going to catch on something, like when you were driving away.
Yeah.
So I guess that's definitely a benefit to having a truck that's 15 years newer than your last one.
Right. Get my emergency brake cable off.
What about you, Olive? Can you help?
Because most fifth wheel hitches don't have this shroud over top. They're just metal, so you can use the self-tapping screws and, you know, attaches to the side or along the back.
Now, is that because our camper is now getting older too?
No, it's just fancier to have the shroud over top of the metal. The metal's still here underneath, but more aerodynamic and fancy. So to loosen this, you just twist this lever and pull out, and now that'll let the funnel or the cup socket lift off of the ball. I'll also need to disconnect my chains, but I can lift off first. There we go, we're starting to lift off the ball.
I don't think you've ever had the camper up that high in the air.
Now I'm disconnecting these safety chains. And I should just be able to pull out from under the camper at this point. Mounted anything yet up here where it won't catch when I'm pulling out. Usually drape this up over here. And this. Our bubble's off the needle. So we've come down well over a foot. We're still about 2 inches too high, and I don't know if I have enough leg left to retract much further. Nope, that's it. So that's part of the learning curve, is learning how far. You know, I've always said go halfway down with the leg first and then use the extensions to make up the difference. And I'm afraid if we would have gone much further down, we wouldn't have had enough lift to get up off the truck. So we may have to find a little more level place to park. The truck was quite a bit uphill from the camper. You can see the camper is pretty close to level now, and obviously there's no way the truck would fit underneath here. So just learning curve.